Welcome to Facebook. Joey Alamo,
That's
my
me.
guest from Miami, Florida, who's played soccer at Stetson University and played midfield. We talked before this broadcast, I should say podcast. And Joey, you know your stuff. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of the USA Australia soccer game, this podcast is being sponsored by the Hanger. Okay. So, Joey, I don't think you've ever been to Pittsburgh, but anytime we have friends come in, we bring them to the Hanger. And it's a go-to because their food is great. They've got great service. Their cooks are great. We know the owners, and we feel like we're family when we're there. Okay. So tonight, for example, it's wing night, and I know it's busy there.
Yeah.
A dollar per wing, and they have so many different sauces. They do these concoctions of like a mixture of sauces and uh, whatever type of dust or whatever they use put together, and there's like over 20 choices for what you want, for your flavor. Their burgers are great. They have burger night on Monday night. They've got Taco Tuesday, half off pizza on Wednesday. Wednesday they do bingo with the beat with our friend Amanda, who's in charge of that. And then tonight, like I said, is wing night. So 500 Flockery Run Road, Moon Township. We're going to be watching the game there tomorrow, Joey. And kickoff is at 3 p.m. And like you were getting caught up with Australia's team. You know a lot about the American team.
Right.
This is going to be a crazy game. I,
Yes.
I am I am not 100% certain that the U.S. will play the same type of team that they did when they faced Paraguay.
Yeah, for sure. Well, welcome everybody to Phil's podcast again. I'm glad to be
Thank you.
on.
Thank you.
And definitely head over to the hangar, right? And have a good time, have some wings, have some burgers, and enjoy the game. So we only get a World Cup every 4 years, right? So
Right.
enjoy every minute that we get of these, and we automatically qualify for this one. We've had unfortunate times where we've missed out on the World Cup, so take advantage. I don't foresee us missing out on another World Cup ever again, but every minute that I'm watching, I'm enjoying. So get out to the hangar, enjoy the game, and let's get into it. Let's talk football. Let's talk soccer here.
Yes.
So what are some things that you kind of wanted to cover today? Because I have been watching the team. I'm an avid U.S. national team follower. I've been
Right.
following since I was a kid. I, as I told you earlier, was hoping one day I'd be on the team, right? So, but I remember back they ran a series, and this was maybe even before Netflix. I mean, maybe around the time when Netflix was getting popular, but they ran a series. I don't know which streaming service had it, but we can probably pull it up. I think if I remember correctly, it's on YouTube, where they were talking about the golden generation. And
Right.
I don't know if you happen to watch that series, but it followed Christian Pulisic. It might have followed
Hmm.
McKinney, Adams, and they did these little 20-minute snippets on these players. And we're now seeing them in action. We did get to see them last World Cup, but now we're getting to see this golden generation. And the pundits have been talking, oh, are they golden? Are they not? We're losing games we shouldn't be losing. Had to have a coaching change and everything. So, but we're seeing all the hard work, all the money, all the effort that's been put into this generation. We're seeing it come to life, and we're seeing it on the big screen, and hopefully seeing it go into some later stages here than we've ever seen before. We've only ever won one knockout game. Let's not get too into it now, but I think after watching that first game, I'm seeing a run. Even Thierry Henry said it. He's like, I think these guys can go on a little run, and he's been somebody who's talked down on the national team. Let's see, very harsh on them. Where Alexi Lalas might say,
Right.
we're gonna go all the way, and then he kind of gives that little look and says, I don't know about that. This is gonna be tough. Anything can happen at soccer. So yeah, I mean, let's get into some details, and let's talk shop here, and let me know what you wanna get into.
I have, yeah, I have a list of concerns. I have a list of what I think might happen. I have a list of possibilities of how they can beat Australia, how Australia can hang with the United States. First things first, Christian Pulisic, it doesn't look like he's gonna play tomorrow.
Are you seeing that? That
Yeah,
this is the
calf
first I'm
issues.
hearing of that. I mean, I
Yeah, this is
obviously I knew he came out at halftime, and I knew that he was dealing with some stuff, but it was a day-to-day situation. So, what's the latest you've heard or saw on that?
well, his calf is still pretty tender,
Okay.
and even if he's going to dress, let's just say, for example, I'm gonna do a screen share right now, and we're gonna pull up the Athletic, which is kind of a go-to publication as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Uh, and here's their lineup right now for tomorrow. They're looking at a 4-2-3-1. We're gonna get into that in a couple of minutes, but you got Freese as goalkeeper, Freeman, Richards, Ream, and Ante Robinson playing back. Adams and Tillman playing your two midfield positions or back midfield.
Yeah.
Des McKenney and Gio Reyna
Okay.
instead of Christian Pulisic.
Yeah.
And then you got Flo Balogun, who's turned into an incredible striker.
Yes.
Um, so I would have to say that if it holds true that this is gonna be the starting 11, um, I'm okay with that. If Pulisic comes in as a sub,
Yeah.
or let's just say, for example, if the United States is able to penetrate that wall of a defense that Australia puts together,
Right.
um, and they find their spaces, they find shot attempts, all that kind of stuff, and say they have a 1-0 lead going into half, or score a second goal early in the second half or whatever. If they don't have to put Pulisic in, maybe you just, you keep that calf, under treatment,
Yeah.
and make sure he's fit for when he's needed.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, and we aren't sure. It hasn't been like said
No,
for sure that he's not
not
playing.
official yet.
But I think if he doesn't start, I could see I mean, Reyna came in at the end of the game, scored a goal, so
Yeah,
that's where probably the Athletic is pulling this lineup from, but Reyna hasn't gotten a lot of minutes, leading up to the World Cup. He was a surprise to be on the roster, so
right.
I would be surprised even if he started. Somebody that the coach really likes that I'm kind of iffy on is Berhalter. A lot of people are pro
Right,
Berhalter.
right.
I'm not against him. He's a workhorse and gonna hold down the fort in the middle. I just feel that when we have Adams in there, I feel like they kind of do similar stuff. So I don't
Mhm.
necessarily feel that. I mean, when we're up a goal, up a couple goals, I feel like Berhalter's a good guy to put in there in the second half, kind of like we
Right,
did.
like they did
Um,
last week.
Exactly, but kinda having starting off against a team that's already defensive, I don't think that Berhalter's the right fit. So, what do you do on the wing? I mean, maybe Reyna comes in, like you say. Reyna does kind of flow through more of the middle, not
Mhm.
exactly how Pulisic plays out wide more on the left,
Right.
but it gives Anthony Robinson more of that freedom down the wing. So, Reyna might be a good option if Pulisic can't go. I'm hoping he goes, and we'll see. They'll make the right decision. They're not going to play him if they don't have to. Going
Yeah,
into kind of talking about Australia and having that kind of wall of defense in the back there. I watched the highlights. I remember the game, watching Australia play versus Turkey, and something I saw was that Turkey was kind of building very slowly, and
right.
from what we saw from the U.S. national team, that's not how we played the last game. We've
Mhm.
done that in the past, and we're seeing it's kind of been a trend, I think, across the World Cup so far that the teams that are building slow and kind of keeping possession slowly aren't building that pace in the attack. That's where we're seeing these weird ties, right? Where you're seeing
Right.
teams like Spain will tie or Portugal's tying. And that's because, in my opinion, I mean, if we get into that, it's they're not attacking the wings. The flanks aren't getting attacked as much. Whereas I heard something that the US completed more dribbles than they'd ever completed in history at like 50 dribbles or something
I had
crazy.
heard that too.
Yeah.
Right.
So, that's uncharacteristic to us as a national team, and that's what you might see somebody from like a France, where they have very dynamic attacking wingers. But now what you see, and something I want to talk about a little bit and go into is when we talk about that golden generation, we have, I think they said 5 people started the game that it was their first ever time starting, or first ever time in the World Cup, right? That this was
Right.
their first World Cup. So I kind of want to get into that and see your perspective. Because we had the other six we had last World Cup and it didn't go according to plan. So I
No.
think something that's not being focused on enough is we know Pulisic is great. We know
Yeah.
you, we have a new goalie, right? So that's a big deal. But
Right.
and then even going into some of the guys that are bigger players for us right now, they weren't there last World Cup. They haven't been highlighted enough. So I kind of wanted to go
Right.
into that. What is your, what are your thoughts on the other guys? Let's say the ones that weren't here. Like we do have McKinney, right? McKinney was there last time around. Anthony Robinson, Tim Ream. Some of these names that we're familiar with, but I want to
Right.
see what you have to say kind of about the other guys, the other five that kind of
Well,
came in.
I'll I'll tell you what, when my friend Zach and I talked about the USMNT last week, the one thing I stressed is of the 26 players on the roster, 18 are playing professional in superb leagues. A lot of them are playing in Europe. They're playing against the best competition.
Mhm,
And we have guys here at the USMNT that are seasoned, right? And the guys that are playing in Europe that are on this team right now, um, knowing that they have played against such great competition
mhm,
and buying into their particular systems that they play, it's team first, okay? And I know that's highly emphasized with the majority of the teams in Europe, no matter if it's, Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga, and the other two, Ligue
yeah,
1 and then Serie A.
yeah,
So with all that said, okay, I was comfortable with how the team was structured, the newer guys who were starting because and especially under, Pochettino, Mauricio, who's coached in Europe, and has been a, almost a proven winner for the most part.
yeah,
Um, I like their experience, and just because they're now starting to gel, and it showed last week they gelled very well, I'm okay with the lineup the way it is,
yeah,
even the subs that are coming in, these guys know how to play the game, they know how to play to Mauricio's style, to Poach's style,
yeah,
and they're all bought in, and this is what the world's talking about, how impressed the United States played, how impressed they were by how the United States played last week against Paraguay. Now, some of the pundits are also saying that Paraguay didn't play the way that they normally play,
mhm,
but it doesn't matter. That was their choice and how they played. And, they were physical and they were a little bit aggressive, but they could not win the ball. The United States controlled the ball and their passing was very good. They were playing clinically, you
mhm,
know, and that's what they're gonna have to do tomorrow afternoon. They're gonna have to play especially well as far as, the clinical side of the game is, quick touches, quick passes, finding those open seams, um, to get that long pass, like, was it Weah who was it that passed that ball to Pulisic that led to the first goal? Where Pulisic just took off and he was on sides. He chased the ball down. He won that ball. I think the defender was probably like 5 paces behind him,
yeah.
and McKennie was in the box, turned out to be an own or no, that was the goal that,
Yeah, no, the
Bellingham
the first
scored.
goal no, the first goal was the one that McKennie played the ball so
Right.
it was Freeman, which I wanna touch on him. I think
Yeah.
he's a key figure. He played the ball to McKennie. Then
Yeah.
McKinney played it out wide to Pulisic and followed the play. The ball came back to him. He tried to play it across, and it was an own goal. So I think that was the
Right.
first goal.
That was the
Um,
first goal. The second
yeah,
goal is what I was talking about, where, I think it was Ream, that may have, found Pulisic sitting right by the defender, not sitting,
yeah, I
but,
think you're
playing
right.
right by the defender. Pulisic just put his hand up and he took off.
Mhm.
Ream passed the ball to him. It was a beautiful pass. It was the perfect pass. Pulisic came in, brought it into the box, and he found Bellingham. Bellingham just right in.
Easy. And that's
Striker.
something that
Absolute striker.
we're not used to that. Any
Mm-mm.
of it. I'm saying we're not
No.
used to I was gonna talk about the goal, but we're not used to most of that. I
No.
didn't actually what's weird is my father and I were talking, we talk soccer all the time, but Reem is somebody we're like, man, he's kind of older. We're not really sure about if he should have that spot. We have Austin Trusty on the bench, which is an excellent left-footed left center back, super athletic. We might see him later on in the tournament. He might get some minutes against a more athletic, winger. But
Right.
what Ream is giving us is that calmness on the ball. He's been around for so long. He had a long career at Fulham, so he played at the highest level. And as a captain, I mean, it just seems to work. I think when we go into every piece of the puzzle is seems great. And I was
Yeah.
talking, like I said, to my father about everything kind of going into this tournament. And when you have those kind of warm up games and you're thinking through like, oh, who's gonna play? Who's gonna make that final roster? Who's gonna make the starting lineup? And everything I'm always anticipating goes up into that final game. And I'm
Right.
waiting for it. And right, I have my app that right at an hour before the game I can see the lineup. And
Yeah.
I'm waiting, and I pull it up and I was so ecstatic. And the reason is I feel like uh I have a good eye for players, as like
Right.
a in a recruiting way. But what I called the lineup, but I didn't call the lineup because I didn't think that the coach would pick the lineup I would pick, right? You don't ever think like,
Okay.
if you're going into other sports and you're a football guy and you're like, oh, this guy should play over this guy, you always say, but you're not expecting them to put the roster that you would have lined up. So when
Right.
I see the roster, because somebody I've ranked highly since the first time I ever saw him play for the US men's national team was Malik Tillman. Malik
Yeah.
Tillman, the first time I ever saw him play, I'm like, this guy's a step above. And you're pointing at your head earlier, his soccer IQ is exquisite. The way he's able
Yeah.
to, he's a ball hawk. We don't have a lot of that in the
Yeah.
US. The kind of the way Adams does, where he hawks the ball down and is able to win tackles, that shows to me soccer IQ. Malik Tillman has the same thing. Also, we saw in some of the warm-up games, Malik Tillman's picking out passes that you're seeing from people at the highest level of the game that are playing in the
Yeah.
Premier League week in, week out, where the ball's coming into their foot, and they're playing a ball, they're switching the field, and they're like, if they're playing chess, they're 3 steps ahead. And
Yeah.
Tillman, to me, is the one guy on our team that is doing that. That goal, that assist to Balogun, perfect example that he plays a through
Absolutely.
ball that we're not accustomed to because he's thinking ahead, he's making the right passes and super athletic, super physical. Him and Freeman, I think, are guys that you take them off the field, the whole game changes because of their athleticism and their soccer IQ. And Freeman just came on the scene the other day. I don't remember, I was watching him because I watched the MLS a lot. I watch big Inter Miami fan. We've been watching Freeman play for Orlando City because we hate Orlando City, and that's our rival. So I've been seeing this guy and I'm like, man, this guy, and then it comes out who his dad is, right? And his dad's
Right.
Antonio Freeman. So, he has that in his blood and you could see it, just the athleticism. But yeah,
Yeah.
those are two
Yeah.
guys. I think every guy on the field, but those are two guys that I think are super important with it going forward. They allow us to play the style that we're playing. Because if you put somebody different in those positions, like a Joe Scally playing at that right back, right center back hybrid that we're playing, the
Mhm.
game isn't the same, right? And you put somebody
Right.
else at the centerman. I was talking about Berhalter at that other
Yep.
center with Tillman, where Tillman's playing. You put him in there, becomes more defensive, doesn't have as much
Right.
freedom. So yeah, those are two guys that I wanted to point out, of the other guys, right? And kind of talking those two up.
Well, everything you said about Freeman, you're spot on because he actually looked very, very good last week. He had a very good game,
Yeah.
and I was writing down some notes while I was watching the match, and he stood out. There's no
Yes.
question about that. I'm glad you brought him up. Tyler Adams, we're gonna see so much from him tomorrow.
Yes.
I'm really excited about this game that we're talking about a little more. Australia does have a good team.
Yeah.
Australia is crazy fast, okay? They're big. It's almost like they're leftover AFL players, Australian
Yeah.
football, you know? You know?
Definitely.
Um, yeah, and I picture Australians as people with grit, people who play hard, who think well,
Hmm.
who seem to know what to do. And that's the Australian soccer team that I saw last week against Turkey. Um, so even though that's gonna be a solid matchup for the United States, I think that the US with that European style that they're playing, that's what I'm calling it. I'm branding it
Yeah,
as a European style of play that we've never seen before.
yeah,
Um, I think that they'll be able to, attack and in cases when they need to counterattack, you
yeah,
know, and eliminate the mistakes, eliminate the bad passes, the interceptions, don't get tackled, be quick with the ball, be clinical, quick touches, quick passes. And even like the dribbling skills, you talked about the dribbling, they're moving the ball very well last week against Paraguay,
yeah,
and I think we're going to see the US pretty much try to play that same style against Australia. And because, like you pointed out, Turkey being like a little bit slower,
yeah.
in developing its game, and Australia basically just, taking advantage of that,
Mhm.
manipulating it. They're not going to be able to do that with the United States team.
Yeah, I think going into the Australia team specifically, coming into the tournament, I was like, we're gonna have very difficult matchups with 2 out of the 3 teams in our group, and those 2
Right.
were not Australia. So
I
I was
know.
I was shocked to watch that game, but they executed their strategy to a T against Turkey. From back to front, you saw they set up with a 5-4-1.
Hmm.
That's what I saw them set up with a very strong, solid back five. Their left back is one of their better players. He's gonna bomb the wing. He's actually gonna go up into the attack as well.
Right.
But basically they do 5-4-1. Of those four in the midfield, their left winger. Let me see I have it here, his name here. Iran Kunda, which scored the first goal. Left winger, he extremely explosive. So I don't I'm gonna go into this game thinking that I'm not worried that we're gonna score. I just think that our attacking prowess right now, Balogun, if Pulisic is able to play, Dest is gonna break down their outside backs and kind of tear them
He
up.
played well
And
last week too.
yeah, getting Tillman on the ball in the midfield because what you need is that creativity. If they're set up with a 5-4 block and just have that one forward way up top, you need to be creative and you need to be interchanging. And what Pochettino's allowing us to do that we haven't seen before, specifically with Berhalter, we seem very structured. And in that way,
Right.
it's like if we were playing a 4-2-3-1, it's almost like the way that soccer's been played historically, that 4-2-3-1 is that's our formation. That's how we're gonna defend. That's how we're gonna attack. Pulisic is gonna be on the left wing. Balogun's gonna stand up top, and we're gonna have an attacking midfielder, whether it's Diego Luna, somebody, like that's the way we're gonna play. Whereas
Right.
Pochettino is allowing more freedom. Now you're seeing overloads. And the biggest thing that I've seen that I didn't see in the past with the US men's national team too is not only are we attacking faster and overloading the wings, where McKinney, you see him drifting out onto the right wing side, and so we're having overloads with Dest and him. And then you see Anthony Robinson bombing up the wing. You have Pulisic and him. And, there's a lot of overloads happening on the wings, allowing kind of more space and flow through the middle. But what I wanted to touch on, and if you haven't noticed this, or anybody, that's kind of watching this podcast, is something to really notice is I first realized, and it came off onto the scene a long time ago with Pep Guardiola and the counter pressing that he did at Barcelona, is that Barcelona wanted the ball, right? So what
Mhm.
they decided, as soon as they lose the ball, they have 7 seconds to recover it. Those first 7 seconds, it's throw men at the ball. And then if we don't get it in 7 seconds, then we're gonna relieve our pressure. We're gonna drop into our defensive shape and we're gonna go from there. That's something that the US men's national team has never done. Now, what you're seeing
Right.
with Pochettino is he's lining up attacking wise, free flowing. We have three in the back for the buildup, which is Freeman, Robinson. No, not Robinson. Uh, Richards, Freeman, Richards, and Ream, three in the back. Then we have the two outside backs, which is Dest is playing more like a winger right now, but
Yep.
typically played at Barcelona right back. So he's gonna be super wide, super high. Robinson creating the width on the other side and letting the other guys kind of flow in the middle with Adams anchoring in front of the three. So
Right.
what happens now is when we lose the ball, Adams anchors the three. We have three and Adams, and we win the ball with those guys back. Everybody else kind of be ball hawks, get to the ball, and at the same time, Robinson kind of trickles back to give us a 4-1, 4-1. So that's kind of
Wow.
what I'm seeing on the way that we defend and structure is four firm in the back with Adams in front anchoring them. And then everybody else, you're free as you can. Go press the ball, go get to the ball and have a more aggressive counter press, which we've never seen. We've never seen that before. And it's working. And that's why Panama could not get out. As soon as we
Mhm.
lose the ball, instead of us turning around and running back, let's go defend. It's like, go get the ball
Right,
while
right.
back four line up and Adams gets in front of them and it's like we'll defend in that shape. So that's what I'm seeing a lot different from in the
That's
past.
a great assessment, and you're 100% right because in the past, it was like a reaction. Let's get back. Let's play
Yeah,
defense. Attack the ball. Go after the ball. Win that ball. And then you're gonna be counterattacking, and
exactly.
then the formation comes up like you just said, and, there's a lot they can do with it. They have the speed, they have the skill, and I just love the style of play that they're showing us right now, without question.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. What do you truly think about the USMNT defense?
I'm I love the defense right now, and
Okay.
the reason I love the defense more than anything is Richards. I thought
Right.
he was key to get back into the lineup. And the first time I really noticed Richards was I was watching. Uh, it was the let me see, let me remember. It was a final of the FA Cup, I believe. I might be mistaken, but
Crystal
it's some
Palace.
yeah. So I think it was a final of an FA Cup, either final, semifinal. Uh, at that time, I was watching a lot of Man City. That's kind of who I follow in the Premier League is Manchester City. So
Okay.
Manchester City is playing against Crystal Palace, and there's this one guy that Man City can't get by. And Man City has the best players in the world, and
Yeah.
they're pounding Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace ends up winning the game, but they're
Mhm.
pounding, pounding, pounding. And this one guy is the key figure standing tall in the back line, and he's
Yep.
American? Like, what is
Mhm.
what? It's like you're in a dream world where you're
Right.
seeing players at this. I mean, we've seen Pulisic do it in the past, right? Where he catches the headlines and he's playing for Chelsea, but
Yeah.
a center defender defending the best players in the world. It's the talent we know we have in the US that oftentimes picks another sport, right? But
Yeah.
we're
Right.
seeing him go along and pick soccer and just stand tall. So when we talk about our back line, I think he was extremely important to get back in the lineup. If he didn't come back because he was coming off an injury, I think he tore two ligaments in his ankle. So that's
Yeah.
something to keep a watch on now as we keep going on through the tournament. I hope he stays healthy and can play every game. But our backups in the defense, I'm not super confident in.
Right.
They can
Right.
do the job. I mean, you have to throw the other Robinson in. I forget his first name. But Robinson or McKenzie, those are the two center backs we have.
Miles Robinson. Yeah.
Yeah, Miles Robinson. So these guys can do the job, but it's not anywhere near the same thing. And then also just having Adams in front of them. I mean, that he's as good as it gets when it comes to holding
Right.
midfielder, ball hawk. And then
Right.
we were lacking in the right defender. I mean, I think in the last World Cup we started Dest maybe at right defender, uh,
We
which
did.
which is great at attacking and is going to unlock defenses, but defensively it's not his first thought. So
Right.
having Freeman that can attack when need be, and he can break pressure and he gets past and he makes good outlet passes, but giving Dest the freedom, go be a winger. He can come
Right.
back and help us defend and kind of get pressure on the ball, but having Freeman, which doesn't look that fast, but when you watch, if you see when there's a really strong, fast attacking winger attack down the wing, and you see Freeman keeps up with them kind of gliding, he has one of those kind of gliding runs, right? Where he kind of
Mhm.
strides it out, and you're like, how is he keeping up with these guys, right? Whereas Dest and Messi and these guys are like, running super fast. Freeman's kind of like, don't worry, I got this, kind of trucking back. So yeah, and I think also we were able to get Anthony Robinson back. I like Arfston. He didn't get any playing time. I don't know if you've watched some of the games leading up to the World Cup. Arfston
Some of them.
he has good attacking prowess as well. Not as athletic, but he puts some good balls in. So he's a good backup left back.
Right.
Yeah, I think overall defensively, Reem is the one spot where he can get beat just athletically.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious to see if we make it, when we make it out of the group stage, we face these tougher opponents. If Pochettino stays with Reem because of his, ability to pass out of the back,
Yeah.
and just have his experience, or if you throw in a guy like Trusty, more athletic, can defend, one-on-one defending better. I guess it'll just depend, but I'm curious to see how that goes moving forward.
Wow. Super, super great assessment. Thank you. Thank you for that, Joey.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you another website that is a go-to of mine.
Okay.
Um, it's The Guardian out of London, England, and they put together this World Cup 2026 guide. Here it is right here. I have the United States page up, okay?
Okay.
You go from coach, the group they're in, FIFA rank, strengths and weaknesses, then you get into the goalkeeping. Here's Matt Freeze, for example. They rated him a 6 in the game, against Paraguay. So, they've already updated the site with the rankings, for the ratings, I mean. And everybody that you're talking about, Chris Richards, Crystal Palace, age 26, rated an 8, and he deserved to be rated an 8 because he
Mhm.
was outstanding back there. Now they have Serginho Dest as a defender, but he's playing up now, as we know,
Yep.
and he played in between. Yeah, he plays for PSV in Eindhoven
Mhm.
in the Netherlands. You talked about Trusty playing in Scotland. You talked about Orfston playing for Columbus Crew, who is somebody who could be, you know, a person you can rely on.
Yeah.
Um, Look at Freeman. They gave him a 7. I would have given him an 8 myself, but I'm generous with the ratings.
Yeah.
He's playing in Spain. Reem, 38 years old, and they call him the elder statesman, and it's true,
Yeah.
Jedi, look at Jedi, so you get into detail about who all these players are, and they're doing it for all 48 teams, Joey. This
Yeah.
is an absolute I'll send this to you when we're done.
Cool. Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
it's very informative. I'm not saying it's 100% accurate. It's the Guardian's take
Right.
on who all these players are. And it's accurate. Gio Reyna, playing I can never pronounce the team, in Germany who he's playing for. I never took any German classes, but
Yeah.
I'd have to, like, work on that word. But, Leeds did not have a bad season, in the Premier League this past season, and, even though he got in at the last couple of
Uh,
minutes, didn't he? Or was that the last game against Germany? The final game against
yeah,
Germany
I don't think I,
before.
I don't think he got any minutes last game.
No,
Um
that was a game
and
against Germany.
and did you hear what he did during their camp leading up to
He
the
got
World Cup?
married. He
He
got
got
married.
this guy got married. He left
Yeah,
camp to go get
and
married.
yeah, they supported it apparently,
Yeah,
or they
apparently,
said
but
that publicly.
they didn't support it with his, minutes in the game. That
No.
so
No, no, but I guess life comes first,
yeah,
Um, Pulisic, obviously, he was rated an 8. Pepe came in,
he
I
did.
believe. Yeah, he had a
Yep,
6.
he did come in.
Balogun has deserved 8 for sure. Um,
Weah
yeah,
came
Louis
in.
Tillman should have been an 8.
Yeah, mhm,
We are right there, 6. So those are your guys who played last week. And then they're gonna fill in this second box right here, because you got the group play with these 3 circles, I mean. Then you get in round of 32, 16, quarterfinal, semifinal, and final if they make it
and we're
that
gonna get
far.
ratings all the way through to the end because we're gonna keep playing every single game.
Yeah,
That's rating
I
2.
sure hope so. That would be
What is
awesome.
your prediction coming into the next 2 group stage games? I don't know if that's something you do, make predictions and call outs here, but
Sometimes.
that'd be
Sometimes.
something I think I'd be intrigued in here because I'm an overly confident guy when it comes to the U.S. men's national team. People have been Debbie Downers about the team now for a while, whereas I'm able to extract the game, analyze the players, the way they played, and the score. Whereas I feel like in the US in general, it's like the score was this. I could care less about what the rest happened, right? So when people get into like, oh, the US is underperforming, I'll come out of a game being like, well, did you see the amount of possession we had? Or
Yeah.
the US is the blah 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 blah. I'm like, but did you see that this guy got minutes and played incredible? Right. So that's kind of what I've been leading. Now scores what's first. I mean, obviously
Right,
I'm gonna be happy if we perform well and we're out in the quarters or something, but I'm gonna still be upset that but up until now, it's like the rest of it was leading until now. So
right.
what is your take now kind of going into I want to see if it differs from mine these next couple games going into I think the most likely route we would face the first team we would face I think after that first game the round of 32 is like a new game because we've never had that in the past with now
Right. I
there's more
call it the
teams.
bonus it's the
Yeah.
bonus round.
So that
Um,
bonus round will play like a third place team or something if we win the group. But that next potential most likely would be Belgium. Which we had an unfortunate game against them. I think it was like 5-1 or something pretty recently. So that would be that quarterfinal game, I'm pretty sure. So kind of what is your thoughts kind of leading into that as we go on two more games until that kind of round of 32.
well, first, let me continue with Australia, then Turkey, okay?
Yeah,
Um, I do think that the United States will win 2-0 or 2-1
against
against
Australia.
Australia. Yeah.
Okay.
And if Paraguay happens to tie or even beat Turkey, which I don't think will happen, I think Turkey will show up and beat Paraguay. Um, so that would give the United States 6 points. Turkey would have they
If you win,
didn't 3 points,
yeah,
or
if they win, they have three.
um that would put the United States 6 points regardless, and, would have to play for a tie to finish in first,
Right.
or secure first place. So, but if you're gonna be going into the round of 32, and I have another site that I'm going to show you, back to screen share. This is from the Telegraph, also out of London, and they have their predictor site that is up right now, okay?
Yeah.
That they've had up since before the, World Cup started, and here's your round of 32 showing, but let's go ahead and place USA first, which I already have them in Group D, and let's say Paraguay finishes in 2nd and Turkey, plays or finishes in 3rd, and yet at the same time, let's have Turkey advance. That round of 32 gives the United States
Which
Ecuador to play, okay?
is not an easy team at all in the slightest.
No, no, there is no team in South America that is easy to play,
What group is
okay?
Ecuador in? Can you scroll back up to the top
Oh,
there?
yeah, oh, yeah, Ecuador is in,
Keep going. Okay,
towards the
so that's
top
Germany,
here.
Ivory Coast, Ecuador, Curacao. So if Ivory
Yeah,
Coast comes out of that group in third, then we would play Ivory Coast maybe.
if Ivory Coast advances as one of the 3rd place
Yeah,
teams,
yeah.
because you have that as a
It
factor
gets so
also.
complicated, huh? But yeah, put that
It
one there.
does. It's based on goal differential, all that kind of stuff,
Let's see if
points, and then
that
you
two
get
we have
into
more
some other
points.
stuff. So, Ecuador would play Norway. Good luck with that, because I think Norway
And
is
yeah,
a
we
very,
would play
very good
Ivory
team.
Coast.
USA would have Ivory Coast, like you said,
Okay.
and even that would
Either
not
one of those
be
games would be super difficult. Eith
absolutely, because Ivory Coast is good, and that particular group that we're talking about with Germany, Ecuador, Ivory Coast, 3 of the 4 teams there, they're all good teams. Germany is top shelf. Ecuador and Ivory Coast, I think, are kind of the same, um, but they're both good.
What was the
Curacao,
score? What was it? Ivory Coast just topped out Ecuador, I think. Let me see. I think that they in that first game yesterday.
I don't have the table, up on any of my pages here. ESPN would have that. So,
Let me see that.
ESPN. And soccer on ESPN, you can see
Yeah,
my history
Ivory
there.
Ivory Coast beat Ecuador. So, the
Okay.
you gotta flip-flop that back because that's most likely what you have you swapped it where Ivory Coast was in 3rd there. So, yeah, so we have a high probability if we win the group, high probability we'll face off against Ecuador.
Yeah, one of the 2
Where
teams in Group B.
where it gets bad, what happens if you put us in 2nd place and we
Okay,
finish
so it'd
top the
be
group?
let's just say Turkey
Yeah.
A
Yeah, what if it's
finishes
just like
first.
that?
That would, we're gonna
You have to
have
pick
to
a 3rd
pick
place Ecuador,
Ecuador
yeah.
here. Um,
Pick
you know
another
what?
3rd
You could
place.
pick another team, and
Paraguay.
out of that,
Paraguay.
I'm gonna have to
Paraguay.
yeah, okay, good call.
Yeah.
Um, that's gonna give the
Oh, yeah.
United States
Iran.
Iran. People are talking about that already. Iran played very well their last game.
Okay.
I was impressed with them. I'm not saying they played top shelf football, but
Yeah.
they still showed up.
Yeah.
They have some talent on that
I
team.
mean, almost every team is playing really good soccer right now. This
Yeah.
is you have a handful. Curacao just got run over. Um, so
Yeah.
I think there's a couple teams that didn't look up to par, but just a handful. I mean, the rest of the teams, they might be playing ultra defensive, but they're still pulling out and doing things that nobody expected. I mean,
Right.
Congo tied Portugal.
Oh my god. They're okay. They look great. And then you also had Capo Verde who tied Spain.
Yeah.
The goalkeeper, I think by now the goalkeeper for Cabo Verde, they're already building a statue for him on that little island country. And
I
they
think
should be if they're not.
he got like 8 million followers on
Yeah,
social media.
he gained, I think he gained 7 million to get to that 8 million.
No, he did.
He was
He
less
was
than a million.
Yeah, he was actually like at I wanna say like 30,000 and
Oh,
he's up at like
and
7,000,000. So for you to grow
insane.
your podcast following, you just need to make the US men's national team for next cycle as a goalkeeper. And then if we tie Spain, you'll get all the following that you need. That's what
Right.
we get going forward for you.
I
Fill in
have to
goal.
Yeah, I have to play around with this because I don't think that the Czech Republic is going to advance. Did they lose to South Africa today or are they tied?
They tied, I wanna say.
Okay, they lost the first match against Korea and they're not going to beat Mexico. So I'm going to have Czech Republic finishing last, South Africa finishing third. But, just for the heck of it, I'm going to throw South Africa in as the eighth team that advances. So this is going to change some things too. But let's just look at say these are potential matchups, but just look at the teams. Look at the quality of these teams, okay?
Mhm.
South Korea is going to give Mexico a game tonight. I don't know that Mexico's going to win. South Korea might win, but then again, they're playing in Mexico City, so they've
Yeah.
got that against them.
That's gonna be a toss up though. I don't know who's gonna South Korea looked really good to me in
Yeah,
the
they
first
did.
game.
Yeah, they did. Um, Canada just wiped out Qatar, and Qatar had two guys they lost to red cards.
Yeah,
The
what
second one,
I was driving, so
gruesome injury.
I didn't see that game. Did you watch some of the clips on that?
I
Was
had it on. I was watching it off and on, and the last I saw, Canada had a 5-0 lead, a 5-0 lead.
Yeah, they won 6-0.
It ended up being yeah, they were 11 against 9. They lost 2
And
guys to red
and
cards.
Switzerland beat Bosnia 4-1, and Bosnia got a
Yep,
red card as well.
right. So, look at these teams, let's go across the board. South Korea, Canada, Germany, Scotland, Netherlands, Morocco, Brazil, Japan, France, Paraguay, Ivory Coast, Norway, Mexico, Saudi Arabia, who looked really good.
Mhm.
England, Senegal. Senegal does not have a bad team. Turkey and Ecuador, Belgium, South Africa. They played with some heart today. And I believe, yeah, they tied. We talked about that just
Yeah,
now.
they tied.
Austria,
Yeah.
Austria did not look too bad. Spain has to really show up for its next
Yeah.
game. Oh my gosh, what a disappointment.
Yeah.
Ghana has a solid squad. Colombia looked great last night. Switzerland, um, They're good. Egypt isn't bad. Argentina is top shelf. This is a dream matchup right here, Argentina,
Oh,
Uruguay.
yeah. That's a fight.
Dream
That's
matchup.
a brawl. That's a
Yes, it
brawl right
is,
there.
and that's gonna be a battle. USA, Iran, and then Croatia, Portugal. Um, Croatia, I think, is gonna win their next 2 games. Portugal has to. I
They'll
don't
put
know
it
what happened
together.
to Ronaldo. They'll put it together. I don't know what happened to Ronaldo. He was very ineffective, let's just say it
Yeah,
that way.
he's 41. Let's
He
I'm
is.
I'm a big Messi fan, so we don't have to get too far into it, um, but yeah,
Okay, I'm with you on that.
he just, he's not as mobile. I mean, we're seeing Messi do some of the stuff. He's not doing everything he's always done, but he's still doing some of the stuff he's always done. Ronaldo, I don't know. Let's talk up the MLS. Maybe the MLS is way better than the Saudi league, right? I don't know. We're just gonna talk up the MLS here. Everybody thought
Right.
Messi wasn't gonna have it. They're like, oh, he's semi-retired. He's playing soccer in South Florida. He's enjoying the beach. Look at him playing as best as he's ever played. Maybe more people should come join us here in the MLS.
I don't know if you can get a ticket for an Inter Miami match though. Aren't they all sold out?
There, you could get tickets. You
Oh,
can
they're
get,
not sold out?
yeah,
Okay.
they're sold out, but you can get them secondary market.
Oh, yeah, secondary market, that's true,
Yeah,
that's very
yeah,
true.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, this is so far. How will you assess the World Cup going into, say, tonight's game against, Mexico versus, Korea?
I
What are your
mean,
thoughts on what we've been seeing so far?
I I've to me, this is a dream. I mean,
Yeah,
watching all these teams and at normal times because it's here in the US, so the only games we every once in a while on the East Coast have to watch a game at midnight, and I fall asleep
yeah,
watching that game because I have to go to
yeah,
work, unfortunately, the
same,
next day. Um,
same.
but that's just been a dream being able to watch that, and they also let me work until either noon or 3 o'clock before I have to start watching games because that's every day
Oh,
we've had so I'm able to do my normal job and then I have to have multiple screens up, but I can be really
right,
effective on my normal job until noon or 3 o'clock rolls around and I have to start watching soccer games. So but it's only once every 4 years, so you got to do
right.
it. And I've been super happy with everything I saw after watching what the US put together. I'm just now starting through this conversation becoming anxious now. I'm very mellow, not an anxious guy. I never felt sick before any of my own soccer games growing up playing, but I was so nauseous leading into that first game. And now going into
Yeah,
this next one, I'm starting to get the nerves again. It's not in our control. We could talk as much as we want about it, but it's not in our control. So hopefully the guys put together and I'm confident now with what I saw in the first game that we're
right,
gonna put something together.
yeah.
It's just we look free. We look like we're playing this type of soccer we wanna play. Freeze didn't have to do much last game,
No.
so he's gonna need to stand on his head at certain points in this tournament, and I'm more
Mhm.
confident in him, and I was never confident in Turner. Some people might have been confident
Right.
in Turner. I just he wasn't he's a good goalie, but he wasn't
Yeah.
that guy. We've always had great goalies in the US. We had Tim Howard, we had, uh
Oh,
bunch of goalies in the past, that
yeah,
were really big goalkeepers. That was a strong point for us. And Turner's just been an okay goalie, not getting a lot of minutes at his club team. So that's something that Pochettino instilled is that you're not gonna play if you're not playing for your club team. It doesn't matter if you're in the
right.
best club team in the world, but if you're not getting minutes, you're not gonna play. We saw Zach Steffen
Absolutely.
fall off because he was at Man City, but not playing. So
Right.
that's another big thing, that Pochettino instilled is that we need you to get minutes. We need you to be playing soccer to be able to play for us. Whereas
Yeah,
Berhalter was not doing that. If you were a
right.
starter, you were a starter in and out. It created
Mm.
complacency. And now we're not seeing that. We're seeing people come on and fight and play and get minutes, and we have some more depth. Whereas we
Yeah,
didn't have that before. I mean, Aronson was one of my favorite guys going into the last tournament. I have an Aronson
right,
jersey. I could pick
right,
any jersey, and the jersey I picked going into the last World Cup was Aronson. Aronson is playing decent soccer, but just think about the depth. That's great that we
right.
have somebody like that coming off the bench. Where you
It's
look at
amazing.
France, you look at Portugal, you look at Argentina, you look at all these teams. Sometimes they make subs, and the subs are better.
Mhm.
US didn't have any depth before. If you wanna make a run, and they always talk about if you wanna make a run in the tournament, you need guys coming off the bench like Aronson, Weah, Armston, Pepe. These are guys that are top-notch guys that they don't get to
Right,
pull. So they come on the
right.
field. Reyna comes on the field, scores probably the best goal of the game. I mean, Balogun's
Was
that's a toss up. Balogun's goal is incredible, but
well, the goal, his second goal, the way he picked that corner, just yeah, I'm still
unbelievable.
shaking my head.
I was running around the house. I was running around the house. I get up. I'm celebrating. I'm celebrating with the team. I'm like, this is unbelievable. So yeah.
I
So
love
overall,
it. I love it.
the I'm excited for all the rest of the games to come. I'll get anxious for the
Yeah,
US game, and then it'll finish, and I can celebrate because I know we're gonna win. Um,
right.
Australia is gonna pose way different problems than Paraguay did. They have very solid defense, and they're just gonna try and hit us on the counterattack. So
Yeah,
can we sniff out those counterattacks? Can Adams and Richards, which I think are gonna be the most important guys,
yeah,
breaking down those counterattacks, are they
yep.
if they have a huge game, I have no worries. But
Okay.
then yeah, we need to get some goals and we'll bag some goals. We got enough talent that will score. Turkey should have scored. I mean, they had like I think two off the post. This guy, I don't
They
know
did.
if you remember the goalie, this guy Beach, is his last name's Beach.
Australians, yeah, Australia's goalie.
Yeah, Australia's goalie. This was his third ever cap. So that's gonna be crazy
Uh,
going into this. This will be his fourth ever cap. But he stood on his head against Turkey. Hopefully, whatever voodoo he was doing on the goal, it wore off against Turkey, and we
yeah.
can bag the goals that Turkey should add.
Here he is right here, Patrick Beach, former softball player, plays, professionally in Australia. Um, he was unbelievable, you know?
But his
Bose had
third
a good game
only his
last
third
week.
game. And if you go over Matt Ryan, that's their captain. And super
Yeah,
unexpected. Yeah, the goalie up there. He's their captain. 33-year-old captain. 34 it says there on there. 34-year-old captain doesn't start and is super unexpected. Not one person was predicting that this guy Patrick Beach was going to start. Um, so if you're Turkey and you're like, we need to test this guy, and then they tested him and he stood firm. He got a couple saves. I'm not sure how many
yeah,
saves he got, but he did make a couple saves. So and then if you scroll down there, you could see the two guys that you need to keep an eye on go all the way down to their strikers. Um yeah, right there. We got
Torre.
Net, yeah, Toure and Nestori Irankunde, number 17, the one next to him.
Okay.
That guy scored an unbelievable counterattack goal.
He did,
Unbelievable.
right, I remember it, yeah,
So, yeah, so if those two guys, we got to watch them on the counterattacks. The rest of the guys, they don't even let them go up the field. They're like, the rest of you guys stay in your box for when they come back and attack, and you two guys go do your thing and go score. They have their best player though. If you scroll up, is actually they say their left wing back. Keep going to defenders. I think he's a defender. Um, Jordan Boss. So that's the
yeah,
guy.
I mentioned him, yep, yep,
Yeah,
yep,
Jordan
he
Bloss
played
is the
well
guy
last
that
week.
they say to keep an eye out for. He plays at
Mhm.
another level. So him and those two strikers, if we lock them down, I think we'll be good to go. We just got to find a way to get some goals. With how Balogun's playing, let's get Balogun on the score sheet. I want to
Right
see
away,
him. I want to see him get a lot of goals this tournament. That would
right,
be
he's
amazing.
gonna have to. This Connor Metcalf had a great game last week too.
Yeah, I think he
Um,
scored. I think he scored. He came off the
he
bench,
did.
if I'm not mistaken, too.
But look
So
how young these guys are, Joey.
yeah.
Metcalf is 26. I'm gonna go back down to the forwards. Torre, 22. Nestori is
20,
20.
20 years old. Yep.
And then the goalkeeper who played last week, Beach, 22. They have a young
Yeah.
team, aside from the
Not a lot of
veterans they have.
experience. Yeah, we just gotta overload and press with the same relentlessness that we played in that first game. Just
Right.
keep going.
I
Keep
totally
going,
agree.
pound them down, make them exhausted, make them wish that they were playing against Turkey again because of the amount of pressure the Americans are putting on them.
Do not take the foot off the gas.
Yeah.
Do
I
not.
mean, ride the momentum. That goal that Reina
Right.
scored allowed us and all the fans to just ride that momentum into, and the team because we
Yeah.
kind of, slowed down a little bit in the second half. Melissa came off at halftime but he scored that goal. We're like, okay, we're ready for the next game. Let's get back out
Right.
there and
Right.
let's put it together again. But Unbelievable. Everybody's saying one of the best performances the US men's national team has ever put together, and
Oh, I think so.
let's just keep putting it together. Let's just keep doing
Right.
what we're doing and, play the way that we're playing, especially
Yeah.
against Australia. They're not gonna dictate play. We're gonna be able to
Right.
do exactly what we wanna do. They're gonna hold deeper than Turkey held. I mean, sorry, than,
Mhm.
Paraguay held. Paraguay was
Right.
trying to push out. They were trying, they just couldn't. So, with somebody who's like, "Okay, you have the ball, we're not even gonna press," we'll see how that works because
Yeah.
some of the best teams in the world can't break down those pressures. I mean, you saw Portugal
Right.
and Portugal and Spain couldn't.
Right.
So when you need big time players to step up in these big time moments.
Yeah. Well, I'll say the top 5 teams coming into the second round of games in group play. United States, I'm not going in any particular order. United States, Germany, England, France, and Argentina.
United States, Germany, what was it? Say it again.
United States, Germany, England, France, and Argentina.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty solid solid selection for sure. I would
And
go
wait,
with those guys. I think the team the teams that surprised me look the best, not even surprised me, but France and Argentina, I thought just looked like they got it, right? I mean,
right.
France looked a little slow in the first half, but against a good team like Senegal, they're like, "Don't worry, we have
They
enough
turned it
talent."
on big time in the
Yeah,
second half.
they have enough talent. They're like, We're not worried. We got this." And then Argentina, everybody was kind of saying like, "What did they have? What were they gonna bring?" And they
Right.
brought it.
Yeah,
But
they
they
did.
have a lot of weight on Messi's shoulders. So
Mhm.
three
He can
zero.
handle it. He can
Three
handle it.
zero, 3 goals for Messi.
Yep.
Uh, 39 years old. I'm a huge Messi fan. I had his poster on my wall all through my
Yeah.
whole life until, if you look up on realtor.com when my parents sold the house back, when I was in high school, you see Messi on my wall. So, I'm a huge, but he's turning 39. So
Yeah.
they're not gonna make it all the way through with just Messi. They need other guys to step up, and they have the players, so are they gonna
Yeah.
step up, So, but yeah,
I'm really high on McAllister playing
he
midfield.
played great. He played
He
great.
did. He had a great game, and, I'm a big Liverpool supporter. You have
Okay,
Man City, I have Liverpool. And, Arne Slot did not did not elevate that team at all this year. It still surprises me that they made it to the Champions League for next season. But, I thought he contained them and didn't let them play
okay,
their game. He should have coached to their talents instead of, "Hey, this is my system. I'm playing a 4-2-3-1," whereas Jurgen Klopp had them playing a 4-3-3,
okay.
okay? And he let them play. He let them run. That's why they were so good under Klopp.
Yeah,
They may not have won every game under Klopp, obviously,
right.
but, they never it was rare when they didn't show up for a match. I mean, I'm talking extremely rare, okay? Under Klopp, you can count on them winning, at worst tying, but
Yeah,
also finishing top 4, um, making a run for the Premier League title, hoping that they, get very far into FA, Carabao, whatever, other
yeah,
Community Shield doesn't count because that's from the season before.
yeah,
Um, but and actually, Liverpool played Crystal Palace in Community Shield, and Crystal Palace beat them, going into the season last year. Crystal Palace has a good team. They now have a new manager, so I don't know much about that new manager, but
yeah.
I think I also read, Joey, and you can maybe verify, doesn't Crystal Palace have the most players of any club playing in the World Cup?
I haven't heard that. I would be
They're up there.
super
They're up
surprised.
there. A number of their players on that roster are in the World Cup this year.
I mean, PSG and Man City, I like every game that I'm watching, I feel like I see somebody from those teams,
Oh, I'm
so
watching France, I feel like I'm watching PSG.
yeah. I mean, Portugal is stacked with PSG players as well. I
Yeah,
mean, they have a
absolutely.
bunch of PSG guys, so
Right.
that's why I was coming because I've never really been a huge PSG supporter. When Messi went to PSG, I started watching them a bit more.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
the way that they've been playing has been incredible. I mean, they're so
yeah.
dominant in the world sport right now. Um, But what I like is I'm seeing glimpses of that style is what seems like what Pochettino's putting on the US, right? Where
Right,
they said that attacking drive, the overloading, taking players on, allowing attacking freedom. That's something that growing up playing soccer in the US, it was like 1-2 touch. Play 1-2 touch, right? Get the
yep,
ball off your feet. I was a dribbler, so I had to go against the grain to build my creativity. Where
right,
Pochettino's like, go for it. You see
yeah,
Pulisic doing things that unless your coach has your back, you're not trying to split defenders and take, 3 guys on if your coach doesn't have your back, which that's what
right,
we're seeing out of PSG, where Desiree Doué, uh Mbappe was doing it before, and then,
mhm,
now you have, Dembele and all these guys, Barcola off the bench. These are top-notch guys that they're getting the support to go at the defenders. That's what I
right,
see Pochettino's allowing that and giving them the freedom. Yes, go at them. And that's what we'll
yeah,
see, I hope, against Australia is like get the ball and go at pace. Worst thing that
right,
happens, they steal the ball and then we counter press their ball and now we're
right,
still on top of them. Um,
right.
so yeah, I mean that's something that I've seen for sure. But Crystal Palace having that many players in the World Cup, I haven't seen something like that. But I mean that's super interesting if that's actually true.
I thought I read that. I could be completely wrong. I'm always wrong about at least one thing I say when I have a podcast. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter what the topic is. I never bat 1,000.
yeah. I
But
don't
I'll
know if
admit it, though.
anybody's gonna look that up though. I think
I hope not.
we can keep that fact as a fact. Nobody worry about
Yeah.
it. Just take it for factual. And we'll keep going. We'll keep moving on. No, it might be true, and they could have a lot of guys in some of the not top teams, right? Like maybe not Portugal and Spain, but they could have a bunch of guys in these other teams. Something, probably we're gonna be wrapping up pretty soon here.
Yeah, yeah.
Something that I saw that I didn't really think about, and it just caught a lot of attention, is because some of these not lower, but lower ranked teams, they have a
Mhm.
lot of players that weren't born in their country.
Right.
And so that's something that's caught a lot of people's attention because you have a team. I mean, Curacao is one of them. They did not perform well, but some of these other teams, Morocco is one that super surprised me the other day. I saw that not one starter was born in Morocco. And that is
Wow.
something that blew my mind, right? I mean, we have some foreign born people on the US or people that
Robinson's
were
one of
born
them.
here and then they go elsewhere after, but not having
Balogun was
one
another one.
player.
He was raised in the UK. Yeah.
Yeah, Tillman was I don't know if he was born here, but Tillman was raised in
He was
Germany.
raised in England or in
So
Germany, I'm sorry,
yeah,
yeah.
so I'm not against it. But it's like when I see that uh I think there's a team, I'm not sure I can't remember which team it was that is it one of the African team or one of the island teams that 20 out of the 24 out of the 26 guys were born in the Netherlands.
Right.
So
And
y-
Curacao is under the Netherlands when it
is
comes
that the
down
team that's
to
24 out of the 26 is
yeah,
Curacao?
it
So
has to be.
that's just interesting
Right.
things to think about, as you're watching these games and watching these is that a lot of the guys might not actually be from the place that and that's something for us we got used to because we've always had some guys that have a real thick accent from another country.
Mhm.
But United States is a melting pot anyway. So I'm not
Exactly.
against it in any way. It's
I'm
just
not either.
interesting. It's just
If
interesting,
they
it's an interesting thing
if
that we're seeing.
if they have citizenship
Right.
and they're one of 11 best players in the country, they are out there on the pitch, okay?
Right.
I'm gonna say something that you just, brought up. Where was Kobe Bryant raised?
Yeah, he was it Germany?
Italy,
Italy.
right, yeah, and he spoke fluent Italian, and I think he had dual citizenship.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a different sport, and, I know Italy's basketball's played in Italy, but they never have a top shelf team in the Olympics,
Yeah.
but but it's still the point,
Right.
and you have guys who are Canadian that play on the American team, in the US Olympics for hockey and
Mhm.
vice versa, so there's a lot of intertwining
Yeah.
with, a birthplace, where you're raised, dual citizenship, stuff like that, so you can pick who you wanna play for basically,
Exactly. Yeah. I
and
mean, There's a lot of talk about Diego Luna. I mean, that's something that is pretty crazy that he was kind of one of the figures going into the tournament, didn't get selected. But he did have the opportunity to play for Mexico, and he chose the
Right.
US. And then now I don't think he can go back and play for Mexico. So,
No.
but then we have another player, his name just slipped my mind, that played a couple games for us, and then he went to Mexico, and he actually
Mhm.
started for Mexico. Um,
Yeah.
do you remember who I'm talking about? Or
I don't remember the name, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
today, Mexico. Hold on, because the lineup's up. So let's see if he's starting. Gutierrez.
Oh,
So
okay.
Brian Gutierrez
Yeah.
played a couple games for us.
Mhm.
Wasn't really getting the minutes he wanted to. Wasn't getting the push that he was going to be a guy. And then now he plays for Chivas, and he's
Mhm.
starting in the World Cup for Mexico, which that blows my mind because you've always thought of like Mexican soccer being so large, but we're really building up our players. I think he played for the Houston Academy.
Okay.
That he's starting for the Mexican national team. So we're doing
Wow.
some stuff right. And we'll have to hop on
I
another
agree.
podcast to talk kind of about,
We will do that.
and everything else, but we're doing
Yeah.
something right, and we're seeing it's becoming real now in front of all of our eyes. I knew
Yeah.
it, but it's great. It's good to know and then see happen. So
So now that we're wrapping up, guess where I'm going when we're done?
I could get. I have a good guess that you're gonna go grab yourself some wings and maybe some
Yes, at the
drinks
hangar.
and
Yeah. Dollar Wing Night at the hangar. I'm going to be heading down there right now, and, I don't know what I will get. Um, they have a Hell to Pit sauce, okay?
okay,
This is where they get creative, and, Eric Rodenberg is a Pitt grad, an avid Pitt fan. I'm not a Pitt grad, but I worked in their athletic department in the '90s,
okay,
and I grew up a Pitt fan. They have Hell to Pit, which is outstanding. They have a Bobby Mo sauce that's also very good, which is the nickname for Robert Morris University because they're here in Moon Township where I reside
okay.
and where the hangar's located. And I think they have like probably about 25 to 30. I'll have to count, when I get down there. But regardless, the wings there are fantastic. There are other items on their menu also are fantastic. You can't go wrong with whatever you order there. Hell, I get their grilled chicken salads a lot, Cajun style. They're fantastic.
They got to
So
keep supporting, get that, keep getting more and more people to those U.S. games,
that's
and
right. That's
make that a
right.
thing. Make the hangar the
Yep.
spot. Anybody
Make
within 200 miles, get down to the hangar and watch the
Yes, exactly.
Phil and the rest of the crew there at the hangar. That'll be a blast.
Joey, thank you for, offering this insight on the hangar. When you do come to visit Pittsburgh, I'll make sure that you have some wings there or whatever you want on the
Sounds
menu.
good.
And you will like the place. It's a good place.
Sounds
TVs
good.
everywhere, multiple games on during, college football, NFL season. If the Steelers aren't playing, they've got the package. You can watch almost anything you want. So,
Sounds good. I'll have to make it
okay.
up there and head out there. Thanks
Yep.
for having me on, though. This was great.
We'll do this again, Joey, and, thanks again to Eric for introducing us because we
Yeah.
only met each other last night, and,
Yeah.
this was a great episode.
Yes.
Thank you for coming on. Have a good time with your in-laws.
Will do.
Let's go USA,
Let's do it.
and, we will reconvene, okay?
Sounds great. Have a good one.
Alright, have a great evening. Take
Enjoy
care
those
now.
wings. Bye
Oh,
bye.
I will. Thank you. Bye-bye.